Andrea a villain or a mirror reflecting our most uncomfortable obsessions with wealth, whiteness, and worth? In The Family That Prays, Tyler Perry constructs the character of Andrea, not merely as a moral deviant, but as a modern manifestation of the Piola complex. A woman whose ambition is a trauma response to a childhood spent watching her mother labor while her white playmates flourished. Ultimately, the film functions as a corporate plantation narrative that enforces a good woman tax on Black female bodies, suggesting that rest is a luxury granted only by whiteness, while simultaneously using Andrea's subjugation to overlook the predatory nature of white patriarchy and justify the reclamation of Black masculinity through violence. To understand Andrea, you must understand Piola or Sarah Jane from the cinematic classic Imitation of Life. The core of that tragedy is the image of Sarah Jane playing with her white playmate while her mother labored in the background. Andrea is the modern manifestation of this trauma. She grew up with a front row seat to the Cartwrights' generational wealth while watching her mother Alice serve that wealth. Like Sarah Jane, Andrea developed a deep-seated embarrassment for her mother's life of domestic service. She doesn't view the diner as a site of Black resilience. She views it as the site of her mother's subjugation. Her affair with William is a desperate, Piola-like attempt to cross the line from the one who serves to the one who is served. By demeaning Chris's manual labor and her mother's diner, Andrea is trying to kill the version of herself that reminds her of the help. This proximity created a blurred line that William exploited from the start. In a traditional setting, the father of the bride or the spouse's family pays for the wedding. In this story, Charlotte Cartwright, the white matriarch, pays for Andrea's wedding to Chris. While presented as a nice gesture, this was an early power flex. By financing the most sacred day of Andrea's life, Charlotte established a dynamic of debt. She bought her way into the family's foundation. The fact that Andrea was not even her daughter-in-law makes this an even more aggressive move. This gift served as a leash, making the Cartwrights the invisible owners of Andrea's marriage before it even began. It ensured that even in her most private moments of happiness, Andrea was still tied to the Cartwrights' date. Andrea's relationship with the Cartwrights mirrors a darker version of the childhood dynamic. Just like Sarah Jane in Imitation of Life, we see even Tiana in The Princess of the Frog watching like this wealth around her and playing with this white little girl. But Tiana doesn't have the luxury of just enjoying Black girlhood. She is embraced by entrepreneurship of her family, and she kind of prioritizes like one day owning a restaurant. Tiana is basically empowered and driven to wealth by owning business, and this is basically opposite of Andrea. And I just say that to say we see these constant like similarities in film of like Black girlhood or even Black biracial girlhood being destroyed by labor. Andrea undermined her mother's business. As a talented accountant, she could have invested her skills into the diner to build a Black-owned legacy. Instead, she chose to use her financial literacy to calculate a pivot. She understood the math. William has more money, but she failed the social literacy test. She didn't realize that to the white patriarchy, she was always just the help's daughter, playing dress up in the big house. A major theme in the film is the good woman tax. Characters like Alice and Pam are required to be endlessly resilient and forgiving. The film suggests that Black women are only valuable when they are enduring perpetual labor. In Tyler Perry's world, the good Black woman is never allowed to rest. Her value is tied to her utility and her ability to sustain a family through backbreaking work. It is a chilling commentary that rest and soft womanhood are only accessible through whiteness or extreme monetary measures. Pam and Alice never get to just be until Charlotte intervenes with her resources, or even Andrea at times. And this reinforces a dangerous theology that for the Black woman, peace is not a birthright, it is a luxury that must be purchased or granted by the elite. The film uses Charlotte to highlight a chilling contrast. Charlotte only seems free after her husband passes away, finally untethered from the immediate demands of white patriarchy, yet even this is an illusion. Her own son, William, attempts to buy her out of her own company. This proves that white patriarchy is a hungry, devastating machine. It doesn't just consume the mistress, Andrea, it eventually attempts to devour the matriarch, Charlotte, his own mother. If the system will compromise its own mother for power, what chance did Andrea have? Like, let me know down in the comments what chance did Andrea have. The climax of the affair echoes the haunting dynamics of antebellum slave narratives. Historically, the wife is often a victim of patriarchy and often directing her rage not at her husband, but at the black woman he exploited, whom is often the mistress. Jillian, William's wife, delivers the final blow, exposing the selling of belonging. Yes, Mrs. Cartwright, my husband won't be seeing you again. You're pathetic. That's why you're limited to this little room. He won't be seen in public with you. You think his colleagues would deal with him if he showed up with you on his arms? You stay away from my family. Jillian reminds Andrea that she is a secret, an amenity, and a little room occupant. Once Andrea becomes a liability to William's domestic peace, he fires and discards her, just as an enslaver would discard a mistress to protect the household's image. In Black cinema, men's violence is often justified through economic emasculation. When I think about movies like Soul Food, Lim is devastated to learn his wife, Bird, secretly used her ex to get him a job. Similarly, Chris is forced to work on construction sites owned by William, the man consuming his wife. Chris's labor is literally building the empire of the man destroying his home. In this film, economic mobility is presented as a masculine trait. When a woman pursues it as aggressively as Andrea does, her strips her of her womanhood, at least in the traditional sense, and then corrects her through male violence, the slap that she received from Chris, and female shaming, the reality check that you will never be a Cartwright, and of course the demeaning words by her family, but I feel like they was trying to be real with her, I ain't gonna lie. So the dinner scene is the ultimate tragedy. By having Chris hit Andrea, the film robs him of the moral high ground he held as a hardworking husband. But I honestly feel like Black people in the community made it seem like he was justified because he was a quote unquote good man. And with white patriarchy, William wins too. First, he takes the wife and uses her body. Second, he successfully turns the good Black man into a violent one, confirming every negative stereotype William might hold. Chris doesn't win by hitting her. He merely falls into the trap William sets. And at the end of the day, the Black family is broken. Let's just be real. It's a Tyler Perry film. Perry creates a deliberate contrast, though. Pam and her husband represent this idealized struggle, teaching a theology of settling. It suggests a Black woman's only path to righteousness is through the struggle, staying down with a man regardless of her aspirations. While it is okay for Black women to be in a cooperative space or married to someone of the same class, I just feel like Tyler Perry, constantly portraying Black women as unhappy is subliminally telling Black women to settle. It shouldn't take rich white people to help a Black woman understand when to stop laboring consistently, but also Black women shouldn't have to labor consistently. The family that prays presents a problematic binary. Stay in the service of your community and be good, laboring forever, or seek luxury and be destroyed. Andrea's downfall is a result of a Piola complex mixed with the Tiana trap. She burned her life down to feel equal to the Cartwrights, only to be reminded that she was just a guest in a little room, as some male misogynists like to say, a bed wench. The upgrade was a mirage. Chris was the anchor, and while anchors are heavy, they are the only things that keep you from drifting into a sea that was never meant to hold you. So my last questions for you all are, do you believe Andrea's resentment stems from seeing her mother labor while her playmates' family flourished? Why is a good Black woman in cinema only granted rest when white people or extreme wealth intervene? And lastly, was Charlotte paying for the wedding as an act of love or friendship, or the first step in ensuring Andrea remained limited to a room or her son's pleasure? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And did you like or dislike the movie? And thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time.